Good YouTube. It's a Quest of Leviathan Prophecy, and I was watching TNT, NBA Inside the NBA TNT. They always have Candace or Dwayne Wade and Shaq. If they don't have those, if they don't have them, then it's the original cast: Ernie, Matt, Ernie Johnson. Ernie, Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq. So obviously, Candace Parker, what I'm saying, the lovely, beautiful Candace Parker, she said that she thinks that DeMar DeRozan can hang in the 90s. She said that he just had a touch of, like, he just had that it factor, you know? And I agree with her. I think DeMar DeRozan, if you watched him play during his, Toronto years, he just had a touch for the game, coming from the streets of Compton, what I'm saying? Growing up, being a LA Crip member, what I'm saying? Well, former LA Crip member, you know, changing his life around, if it wasn't for basketball, I think he would. I think he would have still been gang banging. But I think he took basketball seriously, and I don't know if he still has ties with it. Probably he does. But he reminds me of, if I had to really compare him to anybody in the '90s, I would say that he was like a Reggie Miller, you know. Um, he just had a knack for getting in the right spots. His mid-range game is great. You know, I really wanted the Miami Heat to actually have him instead of Jimmy Butler. You know, um, I'm not saying Jimmy Butler is trash, but I'm just saying, like, DeMar DeRozan was just 10 times better than Jimmy Butler. You know, um, but I have no problem with that. If she said anybody besides, like, she could have said Jimmy Butler could have played in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? But she didn't. She said DeMar DeRozan, and she knows what she's talking about, you know? But then again, Shaq, his big goofy ass, like, oh my God, dog. Like, Shaq's argument is so stale, like potato chips. That shit is not even fucking funny. Like, all his retaliation is, oh, he doesn't have 4 rings. He can pound. We had a tactic. If you score like 4 or 5 points, he'll start fouling you. Like, that's not basketball. That's hot. If you want to go foul somebody and get in the rough, in the scuffle, go to hockey. You know, because basketball, football, they're not sports like hockey. Because hockey, they'll let you fight for 4 or 5 seconds and then they'll break it up. Football, you get ejected. Basketball, you get in a fight, you get ejected. You know what I'm saying? So, or go to damn wrestling, Like, all these damn shows that Shaq did in wrestling, I thought he would have learned a thing or two. You know what I'm saying? But basketball is not a basketball is a physical sport, but it's not a sport to where you start, foul. You know what I'm saying? You start getting into fights and stuff. Like, what made the '90s basketball so great is because you had you didn't have to rely on your stars. Like, every team had 2 stars. You know, like the Utah Jazz, they had 2 stars. The Phoenix Suns, obviously, they had Charles Barkley. You know, um, the Rockets, they had Kenny and Akeem Olajuwon. You know, so I just think, you look at the Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller was the only star of that show, Mullen. So if you want to call Mullen a star, which he really wasn't, but he was a role player. Reggie Miller was the star of that team. So you didn't have to rely on your stars so heavily. Like Michael Jordan didn't have to rely on Scottie Pippen so much. You know what I'm saying? Just like players knew their role. You know, like Steve Kerr knew his role. He was not gonna outshine Michael Jordan. He was not gonna outshine Scottie Pippen. He was not gonna outshine Dennis Rodman. He just came in there, did what he had to do, and just you know average like 13 or 10 points a game, shoot shoot two or four threes a game, and then that's it. That's what he was asked to do. Now you having no name players having like 53 career high points. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. You know? Now it's more of a super team, Like 2010 through 2013, it was kind of like it was trending in that direction where you had like multiple teams. Boston, you had the Brooklyn Nets with Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. You had the Knicks with Stoudemire and J.R. Smith, if you want to call him, if you wanted to call him a superstar at the time. Not a superstar, yeah, a superstar at the time, which he really wasn't. He was a role player coming off the bench, but the big two was obviously Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony. You know what I'm saying? So Shaq is always gonna, say what he wants to say, because he just wants to hear himself talk. You know, like if you're not talking about championships to Shaq, Shaq is just gonna dumb you down to his level. You know, like if you're not talking championships, and that's the one reason why I hated about Shaq. I never was a big Shaq fan. You know, like all these players, all these people saying, well, Kobe would never win. Like the first time they three-peated, okay, Shaq left, you know what I'm saying? Everybody thought that, okay, well, this is the last time Kobe Bryant will ever win a championship. He won a championship in '09. You know what I'm saying? And this was this was without Shaq. You know what I'm saying? He did with Paul Gasol, Lamar Odom, Lamar Crack Odom. I'm just playing. I always like saying that. Ron Artest and, a whole bunch of role players, And then after Shaq left, Shaq never sniffed another championship. So who actually won that debate or that trade, Or that discussion that, Kobe would never win another title without Shaq? Because he did, So, and to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Shaq saying that, well, in today's, in today's game, you gotta, be stacked with superstars, you gotta be stacked with dream teams or super teams. Like, didn't Shaq leave Orlando for LA? If we want to do the what ifs, what if Shaq never left Magic? What if Shaq signed like a 4 or 5 year deal with Magic? You still think he would have won a championship? Hell to the no. You know what I'm saying? So he made a sacrifice, Now I'm not saying that the LA Lakers was some super team, but you had a 1-2 punch with Kobe and Shaq. Nobody came close, The Kings was obviously very close, but we all saw how that game turned out. A lot of rigged calls, a lot of bogus calls, went the LA Lakers' way, Like if it wasn't for Mike Bibby and C. Webb, and Marichik, I think that's his name is, it would have been probably the Kings versus the Sixers with Iverson. You know what I'm saying? But to me, Candace, she's not wrong. DeMar DeRozan has a lot left in the tank, and he could play. He could play. He may not be a star, he may not be a superstar, but he can play. In people's opinion. But Shaq is dead wrong, and he's always gonna bring up this championship bull crap. Like, we get it, Shaq. Like, we get it. You won multiple championships, Shaq. You don't gotta rub it in people's faces. Like, if your ass would have stayed in Orlando, I don't think you would have probably sniffed one championship, to be honest with you. But since you made that sacrifice, like KG made that sacrifice from the Timberwolves to the Celtics. You think KG would have probably won a championship if he stayed with the Timberwolves? No, he made a sacrifice. LeBron James. You think if LeBron James would have resigned in around 2010 with the Cavaliers, you think that they would have probably won a championship? No. So it's sacrifices. Kobe, when he got traded, where he got drafted by the Hornets, if Kobe would have stayed on the Hornets, he would have never won a championship. Forget about nobody would have known who he is, because obviously everybody knows who he is. That's stupid. Like he was in the 1996 draft class, so everybody knew who he was. But nobody would have thought that he would have become the player that he is today if he would have stayed with the Hornets. So they requested a trade. They traded him from the Hornets to the Lakers, and that's all she wrote. You know what I'm saying? He just took off ever since, never left purple and gold, and obviously, he has his two jerseys retired. But the reason why they never retired Shaq's jersey is because he's a dumbass. As much as we praise Shaq wasn't no better than freaking Chuck. I'm sorry if I'm getting off topic, but Shaq was never better than Chuck. Chuck was always better than Shaq. It was just name me three things that Shaq can do that Chuck can't do. Or name me three things that Chuck can do that Shaq can't do. Chuck was a very good defensive player. He was a very good perimeter player. I remember a story where he said that he ate like 5 boxes of pizza, and then the next night he went out there and averaged a triple double. You know, so that's not the reason why I think Chuck is better than Shaq, but I'm just saying, like that's a lot of freaking calories. 10 boxes of pizza. She, damn. But I'm just saying, man. Sometimes Shaq just be in a prison of his own moment, man. He just be in a he just be the prisoner he just be a prisoner of his own moment. Like he feel like nobody in today's era can play in his era. But I bet you if Candace would have said LeBron James, oh, you would have seen a whole different Shaq. Shaq would have said, yeah, I think LeBron James would have I think LeBron James would have probably gave us a run for our money. He's just that dominant. But when he said DeMar DeRozan, Shaq just gave her like one of those, you know, girl, you playing type of faces. Like, and I get it. Shaq, all time great, Magic. Like you can see why Magic wasn't really in a hurry to retire his jersey. Same thing with the Lakers. You know, it's just the way you carry yourself. Like yeah, you could be dominant on the court, but you have to be dominant off the court as well. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to carry yourself. You have to carry yourself as you would on the court, as you would off the court. But who knows? I don't think the Magic is ever gonna retire his jersey because he's never done anything for them. To be honest with you, you know, Lakers, yeah, because he won them 2 championships. So I don't know, but I'm on Candace's side. I think Candace is right. I think Candace is dead on right because she's herself a basketball player. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, if she wasn't a non-basketball player, then okay, Shaq would have probably had a valid point, but she knows talent. Like I'm pretty sure she played with and against some of the best, you know, the WNBA, and I do watch the WNBA. So but anyways, man, let me know what y'all think. Is Candace Parker right about DeMar DeRozan would be a great fit playing in the 90s? Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, take care of yourself and each other. And by the way, like I said, if I were to compare DeMar DeRozan to anybody in the 90s, it would have been a Reggie Miller. Because the way Reggie Miller's shot was just lethal. Like he could shoot anywhere. I remember it was against the Knicks in the playoffs. Like he shot a three, the Knicks inbound the ball, somebody stole it, he gave it back to him. No, he stole it. He backpedaled, like he made like a U-turn back to the 3-point line, and he shot it again, and then he made that little choke, to Spike Lee, and that shit was just, it was hurtful to watch, but yeah, man, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, take care of yourself and each other.